Hey, welcome everyone. This is Shalini Joshi Amdagni, and welcome to this week's Facebook Live session. My name is Shalini Joshi Amdagni. If you're here for the first time, I'm an international physical and emotional pain relief expert. So I help people who are feeling stuck in pain feel relief quickly so that they can get on with their lives, feeling peace and clarity. And I am, Today's topic is healing. I don't know if you can see this. Healing by embracing all parts of you. Okay, that's the topic. And so what we'll be covering today is, number one, I'll be sharing with you a personal story. I'm calling it Birthday Blues. Then I'll be sharing with you the many shades of you and me. We'll be talking a little bit about that. And also the different ways in which we all reject ourselves, right? Sometimes we don't even know we're doing it, and we don't realize we're doing it. So I'm going to share with you the different symptoms to know that you're, rejecting yourself, and also tips that you can use to embrace all parts of you. So that's what's coming up. Hi Lynn, hi Lee, hi Alina, hi Kushi, hi Pakwan. So nice to have you all here. So when we think about healing by embracing all parts of you, the first word is healing, and one of the the word healing really means to make whole, to complete, right? And I feel like it's a little bit different from curing. Healing is not curing. Healing is allowing a natural process to happen so that you heal from within. And curing is a little bit of like getting things from outside of you, and whether it's surgeries or whatever other things outside of you to help you overcome whatever it is. So for me, healing is about becoming whole. Okay, and when you think of the whole of you, we all have been through this journey of life, right, from birth to death, and it's not a straight road. It's a rather bumpy road many times, and it gets rough. And so there are so many emotional, physical landscapes that we go through, that and so many different roles we play, as a baby, and then as a son, a daughter, a student at school, a young adult, a parent, worker, boss, manager, and so on and on. And so we kind of like a puzzle piece. There's so many parts of us: the mother role, the parent, the teacher role, the boss role, the daughter role, the mother, all the different roles. And so we have all these parts to us that make us this who we are, right? But as you can appreciate, and I have experienced, and I know all of us on this planet go through, is that there are so many experiences that we have, and we tend to like the parts of us that are likable, that we like about ourselves. Maybe we feel really strong about some parts of us. Maybe we are really proud of some parts of us. Maybe we feel good about some parts, not so good, not so proud. And then there are those parts that we don't even want to talk about. Those shadows, as we call them, or the good, bad, and the ugly, the one that we would not tell our dearest friends, or, but they are all parts of us. You can't, just because you're not sharing about it, just because you're not talking about it, just because you're hiding it, doesn't mean it is not a part of you. And so when you think of healing is not possible no matter what cures you find out there, and how many ways whatever you do to fix yourself, if you are going to reject parts of you, then healing in the true sense of the word is not possible. And you cannot heal yourself by rejecting and ignoring and suppressing and hiding and pretending it's not there, because it is. And so in order to heal, we need to embrace all parts of ourselves. So jumping on into a personal story, and I'm calling it Birthday Blues. It's relevant in a well, let me give you a little bit of a background. So I was in a boarding school since about 6.5 years of age to 15. And my parents were in Thailand, and I was in a little hill town at the foothills of the Himalayas, a little town, and I was in a boarding school. And so my birthdays come in September, and I never had. When you were in the boarding school, when it was your birthday, you just went a week before to the bakery area and you said, hey, I want to order this cake and I want to order these many candies, and that was it. And so you were responsible for ordering your cake at 6.5 to 15. And you told them, and there were two choices. You could order a chocolate cake or a vanilla cake, and that was it. And so it was a ritual year after year that, your birthday's coming up, and you go a week earlier and you inform them, hey, I want this cake and I want these many candies. And then that was it. And you ordered your cake, and in the first, on your birthday, in the first class that you had, they would cut the cake, sing a song, distribute the sweets, and that was the end of it. And so since my parents were living in Thailand, they weren't physically there. Many kids whose parents were in India, there were chances that they might show up for the birthdays, but that wasn't possible in my case. In fact, my parents would send me back in the days, the greeting cards, and they were sent by airmail. And then you never knew if it was going to arrive on the birthday itself or not, right? It might take a few days here and there. So in many ways, birthdays weren't so fun for me. Now, fast forward to when I had my own kids, right? I had my own kids, and they were 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and I would throw these big parties and big decorations, and oh my God, the fancy birthday cakes, Thomas, and all their favorite characters. And there would be a part of me that would always feel very uneasy and uncomfortable. And I realized that I was resentful of my own kids. And, I was always feeling jealous. I was feeling resentful. I never had this. I never got that. This never happened to me. Nobody bothered. Nobody took so much time to celebrate my birthdays. And there was this part of me that was so ashamed of myself. Like, come on, you're an adult and you're feeling jealous and resentful of your own kids. Like, what kind of a mother are you? And so this saga went on for a while, until I learned EFT and I was able to heal that part of me. But, so there was this birthday blues that happened. Every time my birthday came, I was sad. I wasn't always excited, just like in the past. And every time somebody else's birthday got celebrated, my kids' birthdays, I would find myself feeling low for no reason until I figured out this is what it is. So there was a little Shalini inside of me that was still hurting, that was still feeling wounded, that was still sad. But I hadn't done anything for her, for that little inner child in me that still hurt about these birthday issues. And so it was much later when I started doing EFT tapping that I was able to, go and heal that part of me that was still hurting. So I hope you're getting the picture that, you know, there are so many parts of us that we carry with us. They're not gone anywhere. They're still here, right? So the many shades of you that I was talking about, you know, there's the inner critic, there is the pusher, there is the hurting inner child, there is the the parent that feels I haven't done enough, you know, I should have done this, and there's so many shades of us, and we don't really we don't really have the time to acknowledge all those parts of us that hurt, that feel ashamed, and it can be in terms of, so when you think of many shades of you, let's look at the physical aspect of you. I have so many clients who shame their body parts, right? Oh, Shalini, I have this scar on this part of my body and I hate it, and I feel so I feel less because of this scar. Or they have a part of their body that they are not proud of, whether it's your eyes, whether it's your nose, whether it's your hips, whether it's your whatever. So we have all those parts of us, right? Physical parts of us, whether they are physically scarred, or there's a physical distortion in the body because of those physical aspects of us, or there are emotional scars, right? So many clients, whether there was some kind of sexual molestation or sexual abuse by different people that we are not acknowledging, or it happened and don't want to tell anybody about it, can't tell, sometimes you can't tell your parents, you can't tell your loved ones, and and so there are parts of us, there are the physical scars and the emotional wounds, the emotional scars in so many different ways, whether you were, you had an alcoholic parent and you were physically beaten up, or you were sexually abused, or there can be n number of ways that you have those emotional scars, and some of them are really intense and some of them are not so intense. But even a little thing like birthdays, there was a little scar, there was an emotional scar that how come as a kid my birthdays never got celebrated? I can't remember any birthday that was celebrated the way I celebrated my kids' birthdays. And it's not a big issue, but it was in many ways an issue for me that kept showing up. It kept showing up. And so there are so many ways in which we reject ourselves, and I wanted to share some of the ways that we do this to ourselves. So one of the ways is self-judgment, right? You're always judging yourself. You're always criticizing yourself. Maybe you're the perfectionist who has to get it all right, even though perfection is pretty much a myth, because you can always do something better. You can always, up your game. You can always keep evolving, right? We are never stagnant. So we always, one of the ways you're rejecting yourself is you're always judging yourself, right? I should be doing this. I should have done that. I didn't do that well. Then ignoring your feelings is a big, big one. Ignoring the parts of you that are hurting, like, a lot of people say, you just got to be positive and think positive and move on. And I agree. But if there are parts of you that are hurting and you're just ignoring those feelings and ignoring that they even exist because you want to stay positive and you want to move forward, it won't work. It won't work because it's still a part of you. And, we don't, for example, if you get hurt on your elbow, you don't say, oh, that's just my elbow. I'm not going to pay attention to that part that's bleeding. You would never do that. Even if you get a little scar, even if you get a little, pinprick in your finger, how much that little hurt hurts, right? But you're never going to ignore it. You never ignore the physical wounds. So why do we do that with emotional wounds? I think it's just the way we've been conditioned, the way we've been brought up. We've never been brought up to pay attention to our feelings, right? I had I had a friend who had an accident, and she had a lot of physical scars because of that. And um, you know a lot of the people, when she was going through this experience, just said, you got to be strong, just move on, just move on. And she said, Shalini, not one person asked me, how do you feel about this? Like, what are you feeling? It's the way we've been brought up. We just try to say, okay, this bad thing happened, now let's move on. But it's not so easy, and it leaves a deep scar inside your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, and it eventually shows up sooner than later. So, don't ignore those feelings. Addictions, this is a big one. A lot of people who are addicts, whether it's drug addicts, whether it's alcohol addicts, whether it's gambling, shopping, all kinds of addictions, there are parts of you that you are ignoring. And that's why it's so hard, like, to get out of it, because we have ignored parts of ourselves for so long, and we continue to find ways outside of ourselves to fix it, but it never gets fixed because you've rejected that part of you, you've ignored that part of you, and every time it tries to surface, whatever the addiction is, you use that to cover it up, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So that's another way that we try to cover up and reject. We know we are rejecting ourselves when we have addictions. Of course, comparing ourselves to others, Facebook these days, Instagram, and we compare the highlights of everyone's lives to our regular lives, and then we say, oh, my life sucks, my life is so bad. And that's another way that we are, rejecting ourselves, because we are who we are, and we have our own destined path, and we are uniquely us, and we need to own that. And I do this to myself a lot as well. So it's a process, right? We're always evolving, and we want to be aware, we want to be conscious about how we reject ourselves. Self-sabotage is another one. You've been trying to reach that goal, but you're not reaching that goal. You've been trying to reach a health goal, a work goal, or something goal, right? Or something, you want to move from A to B, and you find that you're not getting there, you're not getting there, you're not getting there. There is a part of you that's hurting, and you need to pay attention inward to allow those parts of you that you've rejected, ignored, suppressed, hidden, to surface. Chronic illness is a big one. If you're in chronic pain or in chronic anything, right? You've tried the medicines, you've tried things out there, you've tried the treatments, you've tried the therapies, and you still have it. And that's a big clue that you are hurting. You are, there are wounds inside of you that need healing. I remember there was a guy, he was in my program, and we had worked on many different things, anger issues, and all kinds of issues. And he had an eye issue. Like, there was something with his eyes that wasn't healing for the longest time. And as we did more and more work together, he came up with this secret that he had, that he had been diagnosed with AIDS many years ago, before this eye problem started. And so as we released and let go, and helped him own and accept that, yes, this was a reality, that this did happen, and this is this is where I am, and this is a part of me. That a lot of things started to change, and he had significant improvement in his eye issues. So there are, we all have these secrets, these scars, and I always tell my clients, your secrets make you sick. And it doesn't mean that you have to go out and, tell your secret to the whole world. It doesn't matter. The outside doesn't matter. It's about you owning and accepting and loving all parts of you, and you forgiving you, and you loving you, and you embracing you. That is important in your healing. Okay? So as we're going through this, think about what are the secrets that you have? What are those scars that you have, physical scars or emotional scars that you've like put away in the box, and you never want to look at them ever again? Those are the parts of you that you are rejecting, and those are the parts of you that need the most compassionate love and attention from you. Okay? Depression is another big one, right? Because depression is basically anger turned inward. Okay, so you're not expressing it, you've turned it all inside, and so you're hurting you, and that's why we don't heal. So these are some of the ways that we reject ourselves, that we we suppress ourselves, and we ignore ourselves, and that always leads to dis-ease, physical disease, emotional disease, pains, and all the physical ailments that we suffer from. And so what are the tips to embrace all parts of you? Okay, so one of the ways is, first of all, just acknowledge. This is one of the first things you want to do, but it's the hardest thing that is, that you can do, because it's so hard. It's so hard to accept that we took a wrong turn, that we made a mistake, that we did things that we shouldn't have, said things that we shouldn't have, or maybe something was done to us, and it's so hard to acknowledge it because it's so painful. But healing begins when you become aware, when you acknowledge, just acknowledging that, yes, this happened. Yes, this is what it is. This is how it was, right? Then that's the first step towards healing. And it's really hard, but we've got to begin somewhere if we want to heal and become whole. Excuse me. And the second thing is what I call presence your feelings, or give voice to those rejected parts of you, right? So for example, when I allowed that little inner child in me to speak up, because she was hurting and she was feeling, whatever she was feeling. And, it's like you give that child that inner part of you that you're rejecting, allow it to, I tell my daughter, she loves drama. I said, allow it to perform and say what it wants to say, and give it a voice, right? Allow that part of you to have a voice. You've been shutting it down. You've been keeping it under the covers, but allow it to express. And it's painful, I know, but it's far more painful to live that way with all these broken and chipped and hidden parts of you, right? So presence your feelings, or give that part of you that you've rejected, let it have a voice, let it speak up, and then empathize. So you're listening without judging. You're listening with compassion. You're listening to what is. Imagine if there was, your child or some other child that was hurting, right? And it's speaking up. What are you going to do? Shame it? Blame it? Yes, you're at fault. You did this wrong thing, and you don't go and do that pointing fingers. So allow that part of you that's done something wrong, that's done something really, really bad, or has had something really bad happen to it, allow it to have a voice and say what it feels and say what happened. And then you want to just listen with compassion. You want to listen with loving attention, kindness, and all of that, right? And not judge it, not criticize it, not give advice, right? You just want to allow that part of you to be acknowledged. and then decide and choose to integrate and own. And so once you have acknowledged, once you have allowed it to have a voice, and you've listened to it with empathy and love and kindness, you want to make a decision, and you want to say, I'm going to choose to acknowledge all these different parts of me consciously. I'm making a decision today to heal and integrate and love and acknowledge all these parts of me, right? We don't want these parts of us that we don't like to hijack us, right? We are not, we are bigger than all these parts. We are bigger than all these little parts of us, right? But we don't want to reject all these parts of us. We don't want to ignore all these parts of us. So you want to consciously say, I'm going to make a conscious decision, and I'm going to make a conscious choice that every time I become aware of something that I'm shaming, a part of me that I'm rejecting, a part of me that I'm ignoring, the feelings that I'm ignoring, I'm going to make a conscious choice to acknowledge them, to give them a voice, give them a loving attention, and embrace all parts. So it's really important, because if you are to have peace in your life, and if you want to be the best version of yourself, if you want to live from your full potential, right, then you want to embrace all parts of you. And when you heal and integrate all those parts of you, and that doesn't mean that, oh, okay, so I did something really bad. That's what people say, like, oh, so that means it's okay, like it's okay to do these bad things. Yeah, like you didn't purposely, consciously do it. And even if you did, you were, that was then, and this is now. And so you want to say, okay, this is what happened. This is the reality, and I can't change it. But if I heal it and integrate it and acknowledge it and stop bleeding, like there are parts of me that are bleeding, how am I going to be whole? How am I going to be the best version of me? Right? It's like these leaks in us, these holes in us, these missing parts of the puzzle. Like if you see a puzzle, if you think of a big puzzle, right, and there are all these missing parts, then it's not a full puzzle. So we want to feel complete, and we want to feel whole, right? And so we need to acknowledge. It's not that we're saying it's okay, you can keep making these big blunders. No, we're just saying, okay, this is what happened. This is the way it was, and now I can choose something different. But I'm going to acknowledge. I'm not going to reject all those parts of me. So that's all about healing by embracing all parts of you. And I cannot tell you, over the last 11 years of working with people with autoimmune disorders, have so much to do with rejecting parts of you. It's like you rejecting you. And so there's all these changes going on in your body where your body is attacking itself. But on a different level, you are rejecting yourself, you are attacking yourself, you are shaming yourself, you are rejecting yourself, you are ignoring yourself. And then all these things start happening in your body. So there are so many physical ailments and illnesses that are a result of we not loving and accepting all parts of us. And we can never really heal. You can have the surgery, you can cut that part of you that's not working, and do all kinds of things, but healing will never happen in the true sense if you don't heal and accept all parts of you. So I hope as you've joined me, as you listen to this, I hope you will, you can see for yourself, like, what if you were to acknowledge those parts of you and embrace those parts of you? Like, what would be possible for you, and who would you become as a result of becoming whole? So yep, that's it from me for this week. I've got to quickly pack off because there's construction happening in this other house, and they're going to start very soon. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you got something out of this, and I will see you next week again with another topic and another issue. And thank you for joining. I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.